This year we have Jason Ditzler here with us, and he has brought his service dog Edgar. Jason enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2002. As a result of his service in the Army for many years, Jason lost his hearing from the loud power generator on his military vehicle. The prolonged exposure to the noise was detrimental to his sense of hearing. In 2017, Jason was teamed with a hearing dog. Edgar is a dog specially trained to perform tasks for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Before I invite Jason to the podium, please watch this video. Jason created that video, by the way. Please welcome Jason Ditzler and Edgar. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Jason Ditzler, but people call me Big Snacks. Edgar, down. Downward facing dog. I am a firefighter, EMR, aviation fanatic, a prior radio personality, and a former U.S. Army biological detection specialist, just to name a few. And yes, I need a service dog. I joined the U.S. Army Reserves in 2006 as a biological detection specialist. And shortly after I arrived at my unit, we were attached to the Department of Homeland Security to detect, boy, I can't talk today for some reason, to detect for the possibility of biological warfare agents. Because we were charged with protecting the U.S. domestically, nobody from my unit was deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. In fact, whenever I got orders to deploy overseas, they were promptly rescinded. Our truck was a self-sufficient mobile biological detection suite with a large generator built into the front to provide power for the HVAC units as well as the detection equipment. Those generators had to be under camouflage and a long exhaust hose running downwind as not to have the exhaust sucked into the intake of the laboratory equipment that would provide a false positive or worse yet, damage the very delicate detection equipment. Working in such close proximity to those generators in enclosed areas with little to no hearing protection has messed up my hearing to the point where I couldn't hear my name being called, and worse yet, I wasn't sleeping because I was anxious that I wouldn't hear an intruder. I researched many ways to get help for my damaged hearing, and I found out about hearing dogs. From there, I researched organizations that offered hearing dogs and came across Americas VetDogs. The reason why I chose Americas VetDogs as opposed to any other school was the way that they operate. You see, I had recently separated from my wife, Rachel, of 13 years. She moved back to Illinois, as well as my children, Aurora, 17, Cadence, 10, and Jasper, 8. And I can't forget Nick, who just turned 18, my ex-brother-in-law who Rachel brought into the family as a young teen. I was living in a house that was sucking every cent that wasn't already accounted for. I was broke at the time I applied, but Americas VetDogs didn't care. They helped me, and they treated me just like any other veteran who sends in an application, and that's because there's never a charge for a veteran for his or her service dog. Once my application was in and finally approved, I was very excited and ready to start this new chapter in my life. Months went by, and then a year, and then a few more months. The whole time I was waiting for my new partner, my pup was being trained to show that he had what it took to be the very best dog for a service member like me. I'd become almost reclusive in the weeks leading up to the day I would go into training. I left the fire department, something that I love to do, because, well, I was worried about how my fellow firefighters would see me. I wasn't sleeping. I was newly single and getting used to sleeping in a quiet 6-bedroom house with a basement, so every noise I heard had to be checked. And if I heard that one, then what about the ones that I didn't hear? My friends tried to help, but they have lives too. I went to work, came home, went to sleep, and then woke up and did it again, unless the Red Cross called. And speaking of the Red Cross, last July I was called to British Columbia with the American Red Cross to assist the Canadian Red Cross with severe wildfires in the area. I normally serve as a case manager for the people who were affected by a disaster, but this time, however, I served up there 3 weeks at a sheltering operation in Kamloops, British Columbia, at a shelter for more than 2,500 people at a major evacuation site. Now, working around 2,500 people and having to hear numbers as well as my name being called in such a loud environment made me even more uncomfortable and self-conscious about my hearing. I have also served in Canada one other time in 2015, also for a fire, and then stateside I was pre-deployed in 2016 for Hurricane Matthew and served one day in an emergency shelter as the hurricane made landfall, as well as an additional 10 days as a case manager before being reassigned to Cape Fear and Kinston, North Carolina. I received another call not long after I returned to Louisville, Kentucky, and this was the call I had been waiting for. My dog was ready, and it was time to come to training. Flights were arranged, and my room was made ready. And me, I was excited to say the least. When I arrived at LaGuardia, I was greeted by Katie, who ended up being one of my trainers, and she drove me to the VetDogs campus in Smithtown, New York. There were snacks and even drinks in the van waiting for me. Over the next 2 weeks, we worked long hours to learn how to work with our new partner. Our dogs were already trained, but now it was our turn. We first started with Carpet Dog, who was really good at standing there, but he showed us what our dogs would be looking for from us. The first 3 days were full of classroom training, and everyone in the class was very excited to see who their new canine companion would be. On day 4, we were given our dogs, and I met Edgar. And me, I could not have been happier. Edgar is truly the best dog for me. His personality is lazy, yet hardworking, and always wanting to please me. The rest of that week was on to group lessons and private lessons, and of course field trips, so that you knew how to work with your dog in public areas. It was hard work, but thanks to Chef Kevin and his famous hot sauces, we ate well. Then came the hard work of going home and learning how to fit a new companion into everyday life. Nowadays, Edgar is a rock star, a hearing dog who loves to hear a noise and alert me, not to mention showing off that he can push the handicap door button at the college. Edgar has also become almost a therapy dog for me. He's always there to listen, never judge me, and always push me to do more. He loves my 3 kids and waits for me to take off his vest so that he can go play with them. He's opened a line of communication with other veterans who may be wondering if they should get a service dog of their own. I refuse to let what others see as a disability stop me from pursuing what I love. I have recently moved to Gallatin, Tennessee to volunteer with AmeriCorps Vista at Volunteer State Community College. I work there with other veterans to return to college, although now I'm looking for another career when my contract is up in February. I've also joined the fire department there and started flying lessons again. And of course, I still work with the American Red Cross, where Edgar now has his very own disaster volunteer ID. Each of us has something that makes us unique, a disability to others, something that we find difficult that they may find easy. We can sit at home and wallow in our self-pity, or we can find something that mitigates that lack of self-ability, and I have found that in Edgar. In the short time we have been a team, we have become almost inseparable, other than the rare occasion that I leave him at home to just be a dog. Because of donors like you, I've gone from being scared to leave my own house to helping people again and speaking in front of a large crowd such as this. I'm able to talk about things I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about my dog Edgar. I'm also passionate about my trainers, Hannah, Katie, Kim, and Valerie, the puppy raisers, and everyone at America's VetDogs, and of course, for those who donated and allowed me to gain such a great friend, helper, and rock star. I'd like to leave you with a quote from the great Samuel Clemens, otherwise known by his pen name, Mark Twain. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly, kiss slowly. Love uncontrollably, or love truly, laugh uncontrollably, and never regret anything that made you smile. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from safe harbors, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Edgar and I will be at the VetDogs table. Please stop by and visit. I look forward to talking with all of you. Thank you again for having me, and with your support, other veterans like me will get their own Edgar. Thank you. Edgar, come on. You ready? Stand. Good job. Thank you very much.